The following thoughts on Happy Hour do not represent Cox Media Group or its sponsoring. Anything you hear may and will be used against you. Thank you. Voted as best local podcast in Tampa Bay by the Creative Loafing. You're listening to Happy Hour.
Are you feeling classy today? Sit down, pour a glass of wine, and listen to Happy Hour.
You're tuned in to Happy Hour, an hour where Happy rants about something. Sit back and listen in. Happy Hour is on now. Happy Hour is on now.
What up? What is happening? This is Happy Hour. I am your host, Ryan Hoppe, and I am very honored about my next guest. On the phone line, we have radio legend Kevin Matthews. What's up, Kevin?
Hey, now.
How's it going, man? How's everything been?
Well, lots. We met a couple of years ago in Chicago, and now you're down in Tampa. Anyways, getting back to you in Tampa Bay, how's everybody? Can we talk about Hulk Hogan?
Oh, yeah. Hulk's huge here. I got to go to Hogan's Beach for an event, and I met Jimmy down here. Wrestling is huge down here, Kevin.
Yeah. Good. And I know I had a privilege to meet Hulk's daughter long ago at a hockey game, at a Lightning game.
They have a very underrated fan base down here because I know guys like CM Punk and other fans of the Blackhawks were sort of making fun of the Lightning fans down here. For 102.5 The Bone, I get to go to games and work for promotions. For a Florida sports team, they have a really good fan base.
Yeah, now you're bringing up something that it does remind me. Last year during the playoffs, Blackhawk fans couldn't wear jerseys.
Yeah.
That's pretty stupid.
That was kind of ridiculous. It was a weird position for me, Kevin, because I'm working here with all Lightning fans, so I had to kind of shut my mouth. But I did think that was kind of ridiculous because it's like you're holding back the third biggest city and its fans. It's like if the fan base comes to Tampa, I'm sorry, you're going to have to embrace it. So they weren't letting the fans near the nice seats. So there was this whole controversy. But, of course, down here in Tampa, that was cool. So.
Yeah, but that's the fans. That's management. That's the owners. That's ridiculous. That's stupid, actually. I mean, that's real stupid if you think about it.
What's the dumbest part about it? Like, what comes to your mind when you think about that happening?
That the Blackhawks have motivated the Blackhawks, and they beat Tampa.
They did do a really good job. I mean, their goaltending happened. I mean, did you think there was any chance they would win the Cup last year, or did you think they were just going to have a nice playoff run?
No. The Blackhawks and Tampa is a good team, but, when you tell fans not to wear jerseys, that just motivates the players. It motivates the fans, and that was a stupid economic move and sports move, if you ask me. I mean, I think the Blackhawks are definitely going to run after that Stanley Cup again. I think Tampa is got a shot for it. We'll see. I love hockey.
Now, don't you love that the Blackhawks have been good the last decade? Because you worked in Chicago radio for so long that you were there when the Hawks were absolutely nothing during the 80s and the 90s. So isn't it refreshing that they're good now?
Hey, I'm a member of the Blackhawk alumni, so I've skated with the Blackhawks during the Blackhawks run in the old stadium. There's a lot of tradition there. It'll come.
I want the radio world to get to know you, especially here in Tampa Bay. So where did you get your foot in the door?
You can you just Google Kevin Matthews. Although if you do that, you get a big bio on a wrestler named Kevin Matthews. I spent the majority of my time in Chicago, about 30 years in Chicago, on a great radio station, The Loop, AM 1000, and then went over to ABC.
What are some of your favorite memories about being on The Loop?
That we kicked everybody's ass, and we...
who were some of the major market competitors you guys had back there? Did you guys have anybody that was in the way, or was it one of the things where you just kicked absolute ass?
And we just kicked absolute ass. I mean, we reinvented the way people listened to radio and created this new format that everybody's using now, the so-called talk radio, if you will.
So where do you think talk radio is going now? Because back then it was very edgy and fun, and now it's very uptight, and people are afraid to speak their minds. So where do you think talk radio is going?
Well, if you're afraid to speak your mind, you shouldn't be a talk radio host. And you, generally in radio speaking, because there's so many platforms now between podcasting and vodcasting. Look at Pandora, all these, platforms that you can create. You can build your own radio station now that can be heard globally. So if you're a pussy, you might want to get out of the business.
Because it just seems like with the fake outrage and people having to say they're sorry all the time, it kind of brings back the potential that FM radio could have with outspoken radio, which is why podcasts do so well, including Doll's Network. Yeah,
there's a lot of horrible podcasts, too. I don't care if it's AM, FM. If you've got content and it's good, people will listen.
What is the key to bringing good content so that the radio listeners come back again?
Content. I mean, to be honest, tell the truth. It's all about content. And, right now there's so many cookie-cutter talk formats. Classic rock is burned out. It's just reinvent yourself. Although I hate that phrase.
Do you think that people are afraid to take a chance when it comes to radio and that this new format might bomb? Or do you think it's just people are out of ideas in general?
No, not at all. But you got, there's like 4 radio companies that own all the radio stations, all television, all newspaper, especially just radio. When you own, there's so much power there. And you're dealing with the FCC, you're dealing with idiot consultants, and, program directors. The majority there are a few that I've worked with that I really love because they're broadcasters. Then there's a lot of just program directors that never had the talent to get on the air, so they're behind the desk controlling what comes over the speaker, controlling the talent. I'm not in radio anymore, thank God.
When was the moment, even if you were in radio, where you just said, I've had enough? Was there a certain moment with a consultant or a program director where you just saw that the future was looking bleak for you on the radio?
I just said thank you very much, and I came back to where I started. And then I also was diagnosed with MS, and that really changed my whole career. And I've learned a lot from that.
What are some of the things, because I'm very sorry that you have MS, and I remember it was very hard to hear the news when I read it on a message board online. What were some of the main things that came to your head, and what did you learn when you found out you were diagnosed with that?
Well, first, it happened to me while I was on the air. I couldn't move my leg, my arm. I thought I was having a stroke. And then within 3 days, I went and had an MRI, and they actually thought it was a brain tumor. And where it was located, it couldn't be operated on. So they were determining, is this a brain tumor? And basically just said, we can't do anything. Get your life in order. Just basically go home and get ready to die. And then the neurologist that I was working with, it's a very rare type of MS that I have, but it wasn't a brain tumor. So it just radio became, it's about my family now and whatnot. So I've been blessed. Trust me. I've been blessed. I work with people that are diagnosed, like everybody in your audience. There's going to be one person listening that's going to be diagnosed with MS this week, and that's on the increase. So I like to help out folks that are diagnosed, especially younger people, that to help them, because it's better when you can talk to somebody with MS or somebody that's got cancer. It's better to talk to somebody who's had cancer, So it's good to reach out, and that's really what I focus on doing. But I mean, to get back, I love radio. I loved it, and I I love it, and unfortunately, you don't have a lot of broadcasters running it. And the audience is just gravitating towards better content. I mean, you can pick what you want to listen to, when you want to listen to. Look at Netflix. You know, it's on demand, and it's sad that such a great vehicle as radio has just imploded, and the industry has done it to itself.
Is there any hope for it? Because I've interviewed other people in radio, and they say that it's making a comeback, that people are going back to listen. Is that just because it's easy to turn on in the car? Like, is there any way that there could be good content on the radio, or is that just people just listening for the hell of it? What do you think?
What's going to happen are the radio companies now are so in debt, they're going to start selling off radio stations. And all you need to do is, and the prices are going to plummet, is buy a radio station. Buy a station, and then think outside the box. People don't want to hear, 10 minutes of commercials 4 times an hour. Think outside the box. How do you make money? There's ways to make money. I never had anybody stop me from what I wanted to do. Not in today's technology. Embrace today's technology, because it's exploding every day. There's something new.
What are some of the things that keep happening each day that you notice? Are there any trends when it comes to you thinking that radio is exploding?
I mean, I don't listen to radio anymore. I'll either go. There is so much audio and audio services on the World Wide Web. I can listen to stuff over in Paris. I can listen to what stuff is I like down in Australia. And again, it's content. I'm chasing content globally now. And if I had the money, and if I had the health, and I were, a little bit younger, just buy a radio station. Buy it and run it. And unfortunately, you're up against the FCC, and it's expensive. I mean, a transmitter, the electric bill of a transmitter, or if you play music, you've got to pay music royalties. It gets really, really expensive. And what's happening is you can create so much more on the Internet.
Are there any shows on the Internet that you really dig? Like, I love what you guys are doing over at Doll's Podcast Network. I love Adam Carolla and other shows like that. Are there any shows that you love to check out?
I'm really happy with what Steve Dahl has done, because he's got really good content. He's got many, many hosts, and Steve is the only guy really that I've ever stayed in touch with. And Steve, when I did get fired from radio and I was going through all the MS, he was the only one that reached out and said, hey, why don't you come and do whatever you want to do a show, one show. And he was the one that reached out. So Steve has always been a friend, and we've had our ups and downs. But, Steve has really become I'm very thankful for Steve, because he's been a good human being through all this.
What was it like for you? Because, as you said, not many people were reaching out. How did it feel when a class act like him had your back and approached you about being on his podcast network?
Well, you know who your friends are, and again, there's so many people in radio today. They don't want to rock the boat at all, because they're afraid they're going to get fired. And, that's a paycheck. These people live in scarcity. So it was really nice to Steve extends this olive branch that I really like. I'm a big fan also. I do like Adam Carolla and Joe Rogan. There's a lot of stuff that is happening over at NPR that is outstanding. Like I said, you can tune into some folks down in Australia, or get some really cool tunes happening out over in Paris, France. So the globe now is your dial.
Were there any shows that you would ever check out while you were on the air in Chicago and Grand Rapids? Or was it one of those things where you were so focused on your show that you didn't want to accidentally copy another show?
Well, it wasn't so much you tune in to copy. I mean, when we blew up radio, we had no competition. There were radio programmers coming all over the country, get a hotel room out at O'Hare, and just listen and write everything I was doing or Dahl was doing or Brandmeier or Stern or, and just take it and try to emulate it. Radio, I had some friends that worked at WGN, but for the most part, I was on a station that I just listened to 24/7, and so did the audience. I mean, there wasn't anything better up and down the dial. And to this day, I'd rather listen to music, I guess.
What are some of your favorite memories during that great run at the Loop in Chicago? What are some memories that come to your mind when you think about that era in radio?
We owned the town, and the audience, we all were in the same sandbox. I mean, I played with my audience. I mean, I was very, we went out, we did live shows, we did comedy jams. I had a great band. We did all the venues, music venues. We did, 30,000, 40,000 outside venues. So the audience, we all grew up together, and we did everything together. We took trips together. We had babies together. Some folks got their doctorates and became doctors, and some plumbers. And, to this day, I've got Kev heads now that are all over the United States and North America. So it's great. I'm very humbled because I really, really, to this day, my audience is my family.
How does it feel? Because I have people that come up to me at 102.5 The Bone events, and they talk about how listening to my show makes their day, and they love my rants. So for you, how awesome is it now and back then as well when just talking into the microphone makes someone's day? How surreal is that for you?
It's not surreal. It's a reality, and when somebody thanks you for touching them, spiritually through entertainment, you got to take the compliment. That's powerful, yet it's very humbling.
Were there any guys that you grew up listening to that influenced you? Like mine were Eddie and Jobo, Brandmeier. Who were some guys that you listened to that made you want to go into radio?
I never wanted to get into radio. It just was an accident. And during the I became good friends with Wolfman Jack. And he was about the only guy. I loved him because he hated authority. And what he did, he revolutionized, what he did at night across the border over in Mexico. That influenced the entire country. So I liked Wolfman. I never really wanted to get into radio. I'm not a geek that can tell you call letters or, satin jackets or nothing like that. Working at the Loop in Chicago, we got into 32 states in Canada. And one of the things I was lucky to meet Frank Zappa and became good friends with Frank, and his wife recently passed away, unfortunately, and I got to know the family, Dweezil and Amit and Moon, and those are the kind of folks that I really appreciated. Frank Zappa. Wow, I got a chance tonight to talk to Frank Zappa. That's the kind of stuff that I really loved. Those were the perks.
What are some of your favorite memories about Frank Zappa? Because he seems like a one-of-a-kind guy.
We had a really great band, Ed Zeppelin, and our band, we performed music by Frank Zappa. Like, we did Peaches and Regalia, or I'm the Slime. But I told the band, we are not going to do a Zappa song unless we do it note for note perfectly, and I'm proud that we did. I mean, try and do Peaches and Regalia. It was great, it's just those kind of things. I shared the stage. We had a big Kev Head barbecue, and we had, Joe Walsh, and the late, great Bill Hicks was a good friend of mine. We just had an outdoor party, and it was great, to become real good friends with Joe Walsh.
Now, these are some of the guys that you were friends with, like Joe Walsh, Frank Zappa, Bill Hicks. Were there any celebrity encounters that went wrong, maybe on the radio or just in general, who were some of the celebrities that you were disappointed in, if any?
I used to, at night, when I was on AM 1000, again, we were in 32 states and Canada, I did a lot of impressions, and this is years ago. I used to call Bob Hope's house in California as Sammy Davis Jr. I didn't want to talk to Bob, but I would talk often to many of his maids or house attendants. And that was awesome to just hose people like that. I know that, I started this whole yelling Freebird in concert long ago. I know people are really pissed about that, like Billy Corgan of the Smashing Pumpkins, or, it's spread all around North America. And Billy Corgan, came from Chicago, and Billy, I know, is a Kev head because he was in one of my live studio audiences, and I asked, we'd go around the audience, hey, what's your name? What do you do? And here's this guy, hi, my name's Billy Corgan. I've got a band we just started called the Smashing Pumpkins. So that was pretty fun to see Billy from my live studio audience to Billy and Smashing Pumpkins just released a new project here just a couple of weeks ago.
How awesome is it that you are the reason that people yell out Freebird? Because that has to be awesome that you are the innovator of it.
Well, it was intended to be yelled at shows that suck, like dinner theater shows, like if you went to see Jim Neighbors and you couldn't get out of it, you had to go with your mom or your dad, and you would disrupt shows that sucked. Unfortunately, it spread to shows that don't suck. And one thing too, when I was on the radio, while radio stations were playing the same songs again and again and again and again, I could do whatever I want. I could say whatever I want, and I could play whatever I wanted. So I could literally, I broke, artists like, my God, the list goes on and on and on. I was one of the first to ever play the Sex Pistols in America, or Dwight Yoakam, Levon Helm, the band, to Derek Trucks. I remember having Derek Trucks in my studio when he was 15 years old. Now he's out with his wife, Susan Tedeschi. And, it's great to, help out a band like the North Mississippi All-Stars. Luther and Cody have become really good friends. It's really great to be able to play a tune that is this artist is really, really good, and you should listen. That's what radio doesn't do. I don't need to hear Billy Idol's White Wedding ever again in my life. But, I think you should hear something brand new.
Now, that's awesome that you had free control and they let you do whatever you want. But was there ever a time, Kevin, where maybe you got suspended or in trouble because you did something that a consultant or your program director didn't approve of?
I never in my life ever listened or worked with consultants. I'm not going to do that. I was working with people like Jimmy DeCastro or Larry Wirt that have gone on to just be incredibly giant in this industry. I got in trouble once. I got fined by the FCC a couple of times. Once a couple, they wanted me to call a funeral home and get them out of a funeral, and then I got a fine for that. I can remember a program director once got really mad at me because I was like the first to play Pearl Jam, and before Pearl Jam got big, I just said, hey, everybody, you got to hear this guy named Eddie Vedder in Pearl Jam. And I just, you hear it today and you go, big deal, But I played Jeremy, I think, all one afternoon. That was the only song I played. And the program director, he came in, got pissed, but then he later got fired, because you don't screw with the talent. You don't tell Michael Jordan how to shoot a basketball, okay? You'll be replaced.
Now, You guys were given the annoying term shock jock, especially in the heydays of that type of radio.
No,
what was your overall approach to that awful term?
First of all, we weren't shock jocks. And then the media and others would label you shock jocks. I mean, think about it. Going back to the Pearl Jam, here this stupid program director yelled at me and said, "Don't ever play that again." And look what happened to Pearl Jam. Look at what they've done. And this whole shock jock stuff, we were just on the air being ourselves. And I have a lot of respect for Howard Stern, for example. You know, it's look at what Howard's done, more things. All these people that label others shock jocks, they're losers. You know, I mean, they haven't done anything, and they're pissed off little pricks that have never done anything, and they try to yank down giants. Good luck. Yeah, tell me Howard Stern's not successful.
What are some of the best parts about Howard?
I think what I love about Howard and Robin is their honesty. You know, they're going to ask you a question, and an honest question, you better give them an honest answer, you know. That's all. I like Howard just because he makes me laugh, okay? And that's all he's supposed to do for me. Thank you, Howard. You made me laugh today. You know, I don't have to read into it. And, you know, it's like Wolfman Jack. When I listen to old tapes of Wolfman, and I'm listening to this guy, nobody knew who he was. The media told kids, don't listen, he's black. He's this monster that's over in the Mexican border. And are you kidding me? I just totally loved Wolfman. He was awesome.
What were some of the best bits that Wolfman Jack did?
I don't know if he did any bits. I mean, the thing is, he took calls, man. He was speaking to the American youth across the country on this huge AM radio station that was across the border. You know, it was he touched culture. That's what he did. It wasn't a bit. You know, I've never done a bit. This is what it is. You know what I'm saying?
You were known for the legendary character known as Jim Shorts. How did that come about? Was this a thing where it just happened on the radio, or did you have this planned out?
No, Jim, I really wanted to call Jim Dick Bags, but you couldn't say Dick on the air, and so, okay, Jim Shorts, yeah. Today on my podcast, Jim is Dick Bags. And I created voices to throw the general manager and program directors off. The general manager thought there was a guy named Jim who did sports, and you better tell him not to say these things on the air anymore. I eventually left that radio station. My last day, Jim Shorts gave the general manager's office furniture away in a contest. Well, it was a contest, so you have to literally now give away your general manager's office furniture. That was awesome. So I just did it as a decoy to stupid management.
What are some of your favorite memories? Was there a prank that you pulled on people when you would use the voice Jim Shorts?
Yeah, we would do, you know, somebody like would call, hey, Kev, can you talk? Call my wife, okay, and tell her I was killed in a car accident. And, you know, it was Kev heads taking on and playing games with other Kev heads. And then there was some stuff, you know, I'm really lucky because I've traveled the world. And again, when radio stations used to take listeners, you know, to Jamaica or Hawaii, or, you know, I used to take audience members to Dublin every St. Patty's Day. You know, we used to give away cars on the air. We used to give away houses on the air. And I loved it when I was at ABC when the calendar changed to the year 2000. Of course, it was the end of the world. Everybody thought computers are going to shut down. And so I went around the world. I went to 7 continents in 28 days broadcasting from, we started in Argentina, and then you go up to London, and then you go to Munich, and eventually we got to Bangkok and Hong Kong and Tokyo, Japan. But every time I was, like, if I was in Tokyo, you had a chance to win a trip to Tokyo or Munich or London. Airfare, hotel, and that's why the audience really enjoyed listening. Not only was I entertaining them around the world, but they had a chance to follow in my footsteps and win trips. It's not rocket science. All you've got to do is entertain the audience and give them something they want. You know, if it's a trip to London or to go celebrate St. Paddy's Day in Dublin, do it. Find a way to do it.
What are some of the craziest memories you had during all your travels around the world?
It was kind of weird in Bangkok because Bangkok is so corrupt. I mean, the government is so corrupt. The first night we got to Bangkok and we were going to do our show, the Bangkok government insisted that we give them U.S. cash. And you can do anything you want in Bangkok. I mean, anything you can think of, you can do in Bangkok, but you better do it. You better be working with the government. Otherwise, you're going to end up in a Bangkok prison. That could be not fun.
How beautiful were the women around the world? Did you get to see different types of cultures?
Yeah. You could tell there was different anatomies. Like the women in Argentina have the best asses. And then you go, when we were in Hong Kong, there were so many women from Subic Bay, and they were gorgeous. I mean, they're just drop-dead gorgeous. So my wife, for example, she surprised me when we were in Amsterdam doing the show. I did my show and then stayed in the same room John Lennon and Yoko had their love-in. And so I was going in, we're checking into Amsterdam. And I go into the lobby, and I go up to the clerk, and I said, "Hey, is my room ready?" Kevin Matthews, no, hey, it's not ready. And he was talking kind of loud. He goes, "Listen, while you wait, though, if you want me to get you hookers, I can do that for you." And I go, no, I just want my room. And then my wife, she stands up from a chair. What if I would have said yes? And so I wanted to have this guy killed because he's breaking the guy code. Are you kidding me? My wife's sitting in a chair, and you're asking her if I want a hooker, or you're asking me if I want a hooker. Thanks, buddy.
Are there any memories, maybe were there some type of like crazy weed or party drugs? Did you ever partake in that when you would be overseas?
No, you don't do drugs in Bangkok. No. Not really. I mean, we had parties. Every year we'd have a golf outing, long before golf outings were hip. I got kicked out of 10 golf courses because we just ruined them. And we would have a pre-party the night before, and, you know, you'd have, like, all my friends from the Chicago Bears or the Blackhawks or the Bulls or audience members. We just got wasted. I mean, just absolutely wasted and destroyed the courses. And they'd kick us out. 10 courses in 10 years. I love that.
Who were some of the funnest people in the media that you got to hang out with and party with? And on sports teams, too.
Bill Hicks, the comic, I got real close to Bill. I love Bill. He was fun. Keith Magnuson, who was a great Chicago Blackhawk, he and I would get into so much trouble, man. I mean, just so much trouble. Or one time I was on the air and doing the afternoon show, and some Chicago Bears came in and took over the station, and they duct taped me to my chair and then put lipstick, cut my clothes off with like a knife, Steve McMichael with like a knife, and then took me downstairs and pushed me out on Lake Michigan, Michigan Avenue, and it was awesome. I mean, they beat my ass, you know, tied me to my chair, and then just put me out on Michigan Avenue. So I love the hanging with the Chicago Bears, Jim McMahon, and all those guys, Walter Payton. It was fun.
How awesome was that run during the 90s with the legendary Chicago Bulls?
Michael was great, man. I mean, to see him his rookie year, and then to see him with that slam dunk competition, I don't care. I have never in my life seen another player. And Kobe Bryant is never going to be a Michael Jordan. You know, I mean, Michael was special, and it was amazing to watch his athletic ability.
What was it about him? Did you think right when he became a rookie that he would be something special, or was it something where he grew over time as a player?
Michael was special, when he was in doing college basketball in the Carolinas. He was special. And Michael, I knew Michael, and Michael would bet on everything. Like anything you wanted, he would always constantly bet. Mike was he was born competitive. He wasn't going to lose to the Pistons tonight. He was just he was a competitive individual.
What about guys like Scottie Pippen, Ron Harper, Dennis Rodman? Wouldn't you agree that is some of the best teams of all time?
Yeah, I mean, Dennis did what he had to do. Scottie is, he was really great. I mean, he was that combo, man. I mean, he was like McCartney-Lennon. It worked. Just to see all that happening was unbelievable.
Now, Kevin, before I let you go, where can people find your work online?
Basically, I'm, like I said, I'm doing a lot of, all kinds of, work with the community if I can. And I still, from day one, it's Steve Dahl, DAHL.com, SteveDahl.com. And I'm fixing up my Facebook so, I can expand that because I'm maxed out on that. But that's what I'm doing.
Well, Kevin, this has been an absolute honor. I love everything you did for this great business, and I hope to be half as successful as you because I've wanted to go into radio probably for 12 years now, so it's been one of my main dreams.
Good. And to, Tampa Bay, are you a big fan of Lovie Smith?
I don't know. I work at a pizza shop as my second job, dude, and I think a lot of people are turning on him because even though they won this week, the last 2 weeks they've blown leads.
That's excellent. And again, Tampa Bay Lightning, man, those players are really good. The owners just might have, lighten up on the taking the jerseys away from the visiting team. That's going to bite you in the ass. Tampa's fun, man. I've had a good time every time I've been in Tampa. It's wonderful, man. They're great people.
I can't agree more, man, because the one thing I really dig is it's weird. It's November out. We had daylight savings time where it gets dark at 5. But what's weird is it's not like the Midwest where it's cold out. It's weird to have it dark at 5 p.m., but it's hot out and you're sweating. I can't explain it, Kevin.
Tampa's a cool town, man. It's a cool town.
Well, Kevin, have a good rest of the day, and thank you for coming on Hoppe Hour. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, bud.
Hoppe Hour. Hoppe Hour.
This is an official broadcast of Hoppe Radio. For more info, check out hopperadio.com and hoppesworld.com.